And we are live once again for the Pop Culture Cosmos. We're back again on this segment. This is Gerald Vasper from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source saying it's such a great honor to be here for the Pop Culture Cosmos and having you listen in today. Catch us again on the Podcast Radio Network every Monday night and also available on several audio outlets, including Mixcloud, Google Play, iTunes, podcast.com, also Stitcher, and then also our great channels that support us as well, the ESO Network, the Tangibound Network, and the Gonna Geek Network as well. I want to thank also Rob McCallum Films, also Retro City Games, Mario Party Wars, Wine, Movement, and Words, and Game Source for all their help indeed as well. So the the big game is coming soon. You know, NFL.
Yeah, you don't want the black helicopters landing and taking you in the middle of the night. So it's the big game.
Yes, exactly, indeed. I live here in Vegas, and unfortunately, you know, they all have to advertise the big game because you can't say the Super Bowl as far as it's concerned for profit. But anyways, we're targeting the big game, the Super Bowl, LI, whatever you want to say. It's going to be the Atlanta Falcons versus the New England Patriots. Battle of Ryan versus also as well Brady. So we've got a great matchup indeed. High octane offenses abound, and who better to talk about it than our man in the know, the man that knows everything about the NFL, and also knows not to say the big, the Super Bowl. But it is Charles Smith from Inside Sports. It's a pleasure having you on again, my friend. How are you?
All right, life is good. Just watched the championship games, which were a little bit disappointing yesterday, but I think it should be a fantastic NFL championship game in a couple of weeks.
And remember the years where for so many years in a row, it was like blowout after blowout, and everybody was saying the Super Bowl, only people watched the ads. But then there was a turn for the better as far as quality games indeed, as far as in recent times, as far as the Super Bowl is concerned.
Right. Yeah, and the last few have been fantastic, all except for Peyton Manning's, getting blown out 43-8 when the Broncos went to the Super Bowl. But other than that, yeah, they've been pretty good the last few years.
And hopefully this will be another great game indeed. I know Vegas has already set the line early on at the Patriots 3.5. Let's go dig deep into it right now. Let's start off with your thoughts on the championship games themselves. Obviously, the Packers went in with a much higher expectation as far as being able to compete, even with Atlanta showing that high-octane offense. But unfortunately, fortunately for Atlanta fans, the defense, which had been much maligned most of the season, really came through for them. But tell me your thoughts on the NFC game as far as the championship game was concerned.
Well, I'll tell you this, with Atlanta, this has kind of been a slow burn, and you'll see I'm completely on the Matty Ice bandwagon now. And if you look at any previous shows I've done over the years, I've followed him since he came in, and what I've always said is the ice melts when the lights get hot. But now here he is. Dan Quinn is the head coach. Dan Quinn was the architect of the Seattle Seahawks championship defense before he became head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Now you see Matty Ice is playing with renewed confidence, and the Atlanta Falcons defense, which was always a weak spot, now they're not a great defense, but they can get in on you. They can make big plays. They got Vic Beasley coming off the edge. They got good active linebackers, and I think he's infused that, Quinn has, into that defense. So now Atlanta, this is the most complete Atlanta Falcons team of the Matt Ryan era. And Matt Ryan, what can you say about the offense with Julio Jones? And they've scored, I think it was 540 points this year, averaging 40 points a game in the playoffs.
One of the top 10 offenses all time, I believe.
Yeah.
Is Shanahan running that offense, Kyle Shanahan?
He is, yes.
Well, up until the point where he is going to be, I think he's the next in line for San Francisco coach. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. And you talk about going from the mountain to the valley. That's what's happening.
Well,
That's a tough gig. Best of luck to him.
As you can see behind me, I'm a Lakers fan. So Luke Walton went from the penthouse to the outhouse, as they say as well, especially after their recent debacles. But Obviously, like I said, they kind of surprised me because I know the Green Bay Packers were a very hot pick because they were a very hot team going into Atlanta, and to be that uncompetitive, I think, is a tribute to the game plan that, like you said, Quinn and Shanahan had designed. And I just think that as far as that offense, like you said, really just did a number on them, and that first half really pretty much said it all. Correct?
It did. I mean, 24-0 at the half, and then the 31-0 after he hits Julio Jones coming out of the break. What was that? 2 minutes into the second half. But the Packers, they're in a tough situation because the team that, especially defensively, they're not that strong, and then they had a bunch of injuries. So take it from someone who's been a Dolphins fan for many years. I watched the Dan Marino era, and really, Aaron Rodgers having that same kind of career. The only difference is the one Super Bowl trip he made, they did win that game. But other than that, you got a great quarterback and a lot of deficiencies around him. But with him, you always have a chance. And there you see the Packers, they just ran out of steam.
I noticed that trend with him and Tom Brady, where they're able to get the best out of they can with receivers. And if those receivers go anywhere else, they don't seem to come anywhere close as far as production is concerned.
Right.
So I think it's a more of a factor of the offense and then the quarterback who leads them in this case. And then also, like I said, the case of New England as well, which leads me to the AFC Championship game where I really thought that was going to be a little bit really competitive because I thought Pittsburgh came in there, as far as on a high as far as confidence is concerned. They had, Le'Veon Bell, they had Antonio Brown, and obviously Roethlisberger going in there. A potent offense on surface, but it seemed to unravel very quickly, starting with Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, there's the Steelers, when we look at the game before, I mean, an ominous precursor could have been the game against Kansas City, where they had to win the game on the strength of 6 field goals. So we saw them in the first half, they got the ball at the half-yard line and wind up kicking a field goal. So the Steelers' offense was just kind of bogged down. Losing Le'Veon Bell didn't help at all. Obviously, I think he only had 6 carries. But the Steelers it looked like they didn't come to play. They were out of sync. It was only 17-9 at the half, but then the Patriots come out 16 unanswered points in the third quarter, and it's a good night, 33-9 going into the fourth. So it was all over but the shouting.
And I know Le'Veon Bell, indicated to the press that, his injury was legit. I know that some people were questioning it initially, but those type of injuries that he sustained really just prevent you from getting the kind of, as he said it, the burst that he actually needed to go ahead and break tackles.
Right, and that's a groin injury that he has, and anyone who's had that, it's when you get a groin injury, it's basically all you're doing is you're learning the things that you can't do. It's okay, well, I can't move laterally. It hurts when I sneeze. It hurts to walk. I can run, but it takes 3 steps to get up to full speed. So that really takes it out. Those core injuries, they take it out of you. He'll recover, obviously, for next season, but really disappointing for him to finally be in the playoffs in a year where he didn't get injured by Cincinnati late in the season. And, this is what happens. But I picked the Steelers to win that game. And they came out flat. And I think even with Le'Veon Bell in there, it just didn't look like it was going to be Pittsburgh's day.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one as well. So it comes right down to Super Bowl LI coming down in Houston, a matchup of, like I said before, 2 high-octane offenses. I think, obviously the line as far as the total point spread is concerned is already going to be at a very high number. So, a lot of the sharps here in Vegas may trend that down very quickly. But your thoughts initially as far as the game is concerned, when you first see it on paper, what stands out for you as far as the matchup is concerned?
Well, I'd say this. One thing is when you look at Vegas, setting the over-under at 57 points, that's the highest ever for a Super Bowl in history.
Yes,
but
it is.
What I look at is we look at New England's path, and one of the things I always say about teams is you just have to beat the team that's in front of you. Now, you could say that New England, first they played Houston, which is a team without a quarterback. Then they played Pittsburgh, which is a team that didn't have their star running back. But still, we got to be careful about saying that New England shouldn't be there because they actually do deserve to be there. But Matchup-wise, really, I haven't, just been a couple of, just last night since it started, or ended rather. But I'm leaning really towards Atlanta if they continue doing what they're doing. And I think the only caveat here is, will Matt Ryan, if he falls into the Matt Ryan of old, which we saw in the previous 1 or 2 or 3 seasons, where he just gets nervous under the lights, then New England will make short work of him. But if they keep on executing like the way they are, I like Atlanta's chances. And really, I think this is Matty Ice 2.0 here. So I'm really leaning heavily towards Atlanta.
Now, I want to ask, you say that, but as we've seen in the past with, the controversy aside that the Patriots have done, given the time to prepare, outside of using tapes, mind you, trying to throw that in there. But given 2 weeks, do you think they might have a scheme that might not say stop, but control as far as Julio Jones's output to make it a more manageable number, to make it less successful for their offense to succeed?
Well, I think so. So even if they take Julio Jones out of the equation, remember you got Tyler Gabriel there at wide receiver, and then you also got Mohamed Sanu, who was rescued from purgatory in Cincinnati and is now thriving. But also Devonta Freeman is a great running back, and that's one thing we didn't see this weekend was any great play as far as the running backs. I think the top running back was LeGarrette Blount for New England. I think he had 16 carries for like 47 yards or something like that. So the run game was really kind of anemic, so everyone was able to do it through the air. If things get bogged down, who will be able to run better? I think that Atlanta, they got a good offensive line. I think they can get the edge there. And but look at the wide receivers on both sides. You got, Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola, and Chris Hogan comes out of nowhere, 9 catches, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, it's not going to be easy. Nobody rolls over a Belichick team.
Like I said, that's a product of Tom Brady and his offense. Just like Aaron Rodgers, they'll get, you or me off the street, and we'll catch like 7, 8 balls as far as it's concerned. It just seems amazing what these guys can do as far as get these receivers out of nowhere virtually. And then they do have the Edelmans and whatnot, the Amendolas that can go and find those seams to catch the ball, to get those elusive first downs as far as it's concerned. But it looks like you're leaning towards the Falcons at this time.
I'm leaning, yes. I'm leaning.
There you go. Indeed. Yeah. So if that's the case, and you think Falcons with their high octane offense and Devonta Freeman, as far as is concerned, he could be the X factor, definitely, because he's definitely an explosive back indeed. If you're New England, is there any way or anything that you see that could possibly see as far as them being out on top?
Well, when we look at the ground game, though, we got Devonta Freeman over there with Atlanta, but still, LeGarrette Blount and Dion Lewis for New England. That's another factor there. So I say, all in all, this is going to be a terrific Super Bowl. And I think that what we've always seen is they say defense wins championships, and that's what it comes down to. A lot of the high-octane offenses, they get bogged down in big games. So it comes down to the defensive stops. And I think with Dan Quinn and his philosophies there, having put together, like I said, that Seattle defense, I think the Atlanta defense should be equal to the task. And like I said, with Beasley there and with Dwight Freeney, even though he's not an every down type guy, but the stability he offers, much like Jared Allen offered to the Carolina Panthers defense last year, that kind of just solidifies everything. So you got a good group there. And I like their chances, even though Atlanta kind of came out of nowhere this year to get where they are. But hey, everything clicked, and they're just playing well, and I give them an edge right here.
I don't blame you, indeed. I do think, for personal reasons, I think that it's going to come, like you said, down to with those 2 high-octane offenses, defense and clock management. If there's a team that can go ahead and manage the clock as far as concerned and take the bulk from 65% of the actual minutes allowed as far as concerned, and take up that clock, that could be a long way as far as, and that could leave that other team in a really to have to make maybe some calculated, efforts as far as trying to go ahead and pass the ball, maybe too much to the point where it could become some mistakes may happen and turnovers may happen as well. So that might be a key as well. So that's definitely a great opinion that you have, Charles, as far as leaning towards your Super Bowl is concerned, your Super Bowl predictions are concerned. But first, I want to ask you before we head on out, what is the best way to get hold of your work on Inside Sports?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the props there. But you can follow me on Twitter at The Inside Sports, or my website is officialinsidesports.com. But easiest to follow on Twitter at The Inside Sports. I put up a lot of good highlights there. And anytime I do any shows or write articles, because I do NFL football talk every week during the season and then all the way through the playoffs. So that's up on Vimeo. So in print or webcast or whatever on Twitter, I'm there at The Inside Sports.
And that's awesome indeed. So catch Charles Smith today, Inside Sports. There is no reason not to, especially if you're going to go ahead and put some money on the Super Bowl, because, when like here in Vegas, it definitely a lot of money exchanges hands at the books indeed. Charles, it's been a great pleasure having you on here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. As always, you're welcome back at any time. As far as anything you want to talk about in regards to sports or anything else pop culture related, it's been truly a pleasure to having you on, and your thoughts on the upcoming the big game, so to speak.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Y'all have fun out there.
Thank you so much, and I'm just waiting for those black helicopters to arrive, with those men in the suits and whatnot, and Roger Goodell outside my door. Thanks so much, and I appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions for Charles, we'll go ahead and let you know. You can just email us at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmo on Twitter, Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, and then also what Charles said in regards to Inside Sports. Catch them on Facebook, Twitter, and Vimeo today.